Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the special called meeting of the Cobb County Board of Elections. First and foremost, thank you for your patience as we work through some technical difficulties to make certain that our member that is traveling is able to join us. And I believe we have Jessica on the line. Ms. Brooks?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent, good. Hopefully you have traveled safe and are doing well.
Thank you.
As I noted, we are here upon a voter qualification challenge as submitted by a Mr. Eugene Williams on May the 25th, 2022. Is Mr. Williams here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey there, Mr. Williams. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm well, thank you. We can just go ahead and move forward. If you'll come up, sir. And if you just approach the podium, the mic is already on and waiting for you. Feel free to go ahead and make your presentation.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eugene Williams, and I'm a registered Cobb County voter. And I had submitted 5 voters that are currently registered to vote here in Cobb County that have, I think from the evidence provided, it shows they've moved out of state. They now reside in North Carolina, and they further have moved forward and registered to vote in North Carolina as well. So I'm coming here before you today to ask that we please remove these folks from the Cobb County voter roll, that really no one should have the ability to walk into 2 different states to vote if they wish, and that's just something that that needs to be addressed. So anyway, I'll take any questions you have on that. I think it's pretty straightforward what was submitted on it.
Sure, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there questions that anyone would like to raise? Any board members? Yes, go ahead, Jennifer.
Well, Janine, do you present next, or do we ask questions next?
I think we ask questions just to be certain that, well,
Okay.
I think that I don't know that it matters per se.
Okay, cool. So I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Hi, welcome, thanks for being here.
Sure.
Can you tell me, like, in detail, sort of about your process? Like, how did you go about doing this, and where did you obtain the information? What's your motivation? All those kind of things.
Well, all of these 5 voters submitted a change of address with the Postal Service to have their mail forwarded to their new home in North Carolina. And from that list, I went into a couple of different websites. One is vote.org and the other one is voteref.com, to see if they've actually also have registered to vote in their new home. And each one of these that I submitted have already voted, or I mean, they've already registered to vote in North Carolina.
Let's take a step back for a minute. Tell me actually, like, where did you download the National Change of Address list from? What was your process? Like, sort of, where did you go for all of that data? Did somebody give that to you? Were you emailed a list?
I've gotten that from a group that's working on trying to address duplicate voters that are just voting in different states, or not necessarily that they just have moved out of the area and they haven't canceled their voter registration. They've moved to a new area and now they're able to vote in 2 locations. And oftentimes it's not necessarily the voter that'll do that. Somebody will know that they've moved out of town and they've eased up on the mail-in ballots so much. Somebody else could just submit a ballot in their name and there'd be no way to verify it.
So tell me more about this group and what information they provided for you that you didn't provide for yourself.
Well, just a list of the voters that have moved out of Cobb County that have put in a change of address to show they want their mail forwarded to North Carolina.
Right, but you're aware that we're not just allowed to use a change of address list to remove a voter per the National Voting Rights Act?
Well, yeah, maybe, okay.
Okay.
But it's not okay for them to register to vote in 2 different locations.
It's not okay to vote in 2 different locations.
Well, I don't know now. North Carolina, I printed something off of their site, and it says when you register to vote in a North Carolina county, you give up your voter registration in the county or state where you previously lived.
Okay.
So that's not a law here in Georgia?
I'd like to go back a second. Let me talk.
Well, is that a, a law here in Georgia?
Daniel, you want
Do
to
you know,
address the
Janine?
law situation?
I mean, it should be a law. I mean, you shouldn't.
That's a question for the legislature.
Well, I mean, it's just.
I'm going to ask the
You know,
attorney to clarify.
And again, if you want to know, and I no offense to you, but I answer the board's legal questions, and if the
Okay.
board wants me to answer that question, I'm happy to do it. Otherwise, you can finish your questioning, and I can address it later. Whatever order you guys want me to do, and
Why don't you just let me know what the actual law says?
So, yeah, so what Georgia law says is that a person shall not, if you look in 21-2-217, this is what Georgia says. And this is subsection A2. A person shall not be considered to have lost their residence who leaves such person's home and goes into another state or county within, or municipality in this state for temporary purposes only with the intention of returning, unless such person shall register to vote or perform other acts indicating a desire to change such person's citizenship and residence. So if they do register to vote somewhere else, then they're considered to have lost their ability to vote here. So yes, that's Georgia law.
So we
does
have
it.
to be
It's a
able to
very
say-
long-winded, roundabout way of saying, yes, if they take actions such as registering to vote in another jurisdiction, then yes, they are presumed to lose their ability to vote here too.
And that would depend on the dates registered in each, like, we'd have to be able to compare those dates.
Right, you'd want to know which one was subsequent, where, yes, you would, preferably you'd like to know the timeline.
Okay, great. So
Well,
does
I
that
think
answer
the
your question?
information I submitted actually did put the registration date for each of these voters.
Yes,
So
I was
you
able to
have
look
that.
that up as
Okay.
well, to verify. So what I would like to know is on this spreadsheet that you submitted,
Mm-hmm.
there is a date of birth column, and it does provide for us this full date of birth. Where was that information obtained?
That was on the list I received
All right, so tell
for
me.
the
so then-
change of address. I don't know if
No, it
they,
wouldn't
I
have
don't know
been-
if they
It wouldn't have been on the
merged.
change of address list, sir. So
Do what?
It would not have been on the change of.
Well, I don't know if they merged it, though, with the county voting records. I don't know. I
So
mean,
this
but-
isn't something you prepared at all?
No, and it's not every voter has their date of birth on the list that we got, but some do and some don't.
So can we get to the bottom of actually who prepared the list that you provided to us?
Well, I got it from a group that's working to clean up the voter rolls.
What is the name of that group?
Well, I've worked with one in Gwinnett County that did it, but the one here for this one it's out of the Cobb County. I don't know if they have a formal name or anything.
Okay, well, who's the person that sent you the data? Because you're now telling us that you've given us data that isn't data that you prepared.
Okay, no, it's not, but is that pertinent?
I mean, it's
Is
my
that
question.
meaningful, really, where we got it? It's legitimate data.
I think it's important for this hearing, and I'd like to know that information, so.
Okay, well, I got it from, it's Carol Astra, I believe Carol. She had provided that to me,
Okay,
and she's,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What's that name?
Carol Astra.
The previous.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we're asking for.
okay, that's all my questions for right now, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions? Yes, go ahead, Steve.
I had a question about the attachments that, did you submit these as part of the record?
Yeah, it's hard for me to see that, but
Yeah.
I submitted attachments with voter records. I think there was an Excel spreadsheet and then a copy of the, let me see if I can pull it up.
Mr. Bruning?
Yeah,
if I
just
may.
basically a record of each person that's, was showing they're registered in North Carolina.
Mr. Bruning, if I may, what you have in the folder that I brought for you is the original email from Mr. Williams, and the green sheet, I just printed it on green so it'd be easier for us to identify. That is the spreadsheet that he provided. And then he also provided the information from the North Carolina voter registration data search. And what I provided in your folders is an updated version of exactly what he provided so that we could get the most recent record from North Carolina. And the ones that have a colored flag on them, I'm bringing to your attention where they have voted in North Carolina. There is 4 of the ones, the records do show that they have voted in North Carolina. The only one that has not is the final one, Debbie Howard Naylor. And so this gives you exactly what Mr. Williams provided, but in a report that was just the other day I pulled.
Okay.
So 4 out of the 5 voters have actually voted in North Carolina. One has not yet voted, but she just registered March of 2022, according to this. So she's relatively new there, but, okay, thank you.
So you think she's holding?
Do you,
think she's holding back here in Georgia?
does anyone else have any further questions for Mr. Williams? Okay. In the absence of any questions for Mr. Williams, Ms. Evler, I know that you obviously just explained to us what information you've supplemented based upon your office's work and kind of diligence, if you will. Do you have anything further you would like to share with us?
No, ma'am, that was all I wanted to share, is just the materials that I provided and our research showing the voting history of 4 of the.
Okay. And then I also believe that you may have been in like verbal communication
Oh,
with
yes.
2 of them?
Thank you for reminding me.
Of course, that's what we're here for.
Ms.
Help each other out.
Scott, no, what's her name? Oh, Haley, sorry, Ms. Haley, Marina Haley called and stated that she is a resident of North Carolina and has moved. And Mr. Long called and didn't really give me a lot of information, but he was very angry that we were having this hearing and it was a waste of time and money. So I think that he was more or less saying that he's now a resident of North Carolina, but that this whole process was flawed, so.
Okay. Thank you.
So-
Anything further? Ms. Oprah?
All right,
No.
so-
No? Okay, no, I'm coming to you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I just had one question of Janine. What is looking at this first person on the...
Can you give a name?
I'm sorry.
Ms.
Rena
Hale.
Van Houten Haley, Lenore, North Carolina. You know, she has been voting in North Carolina, it looks like, since 2019.
Correct.
So
Shouldn't we?
what is our system, regardless of whether we get a challenge or not, is there a means that states communicate to each other to say, this person is now moved to North Carolina and we've registered them and you all should take them off the poll?
Not in real time. There is a system called ERIC, and it's the acronym, I'm not sure exactly what it all stands for, where I think there's less than 30 states are members of ERIC, and there is a combined database that searches out for duplicates. And so states that are members will provide their data, and we get, as a result of that, we get names that come out on our dashboard that says this appears to be a match, you know, research whether it's a true match or if some of the data may be wrong. Maybe there's, you know, actually a date of birth that might not be right, those kind of things. So we look into those before we actually take action. But other than that, if a state is not part of that group, there isn't communication.
Is North Carolina a part of it?
I don't know that. It's a state level function, so we're not, other than getting the dashboard
I
feed,
see.
we don't have anything to do with it.
So, and to be certain, to the extent it's a state level function, it's not something that's managed by any of the county offices, correct?
correct.
That's the, at the Secretary of State level?
Right.
Okay.
Or a mandatory thing, that the states have to do this?
It is not mandatory, no.
Okay.
In fact, the legislature just gave the Georgia Secretary of State authorization to be part of ERIC in one of the more recent bills, and I can't remember if it's the last one or the one before that.
Right, so they are either participating in this ERIC process, or obviously we have this every other year standard maintenance process.
Right.
Wherein if you've not voted in, I believe, the 2 preceding general or voting cycles, but then you're placed to an inactive status, correct?
Yes, there's 2 processes. The national change of address process, where the same list that Mr. Williams was referring to is compared to the voter registration list, and then confirmation notices are generated where we send to the voter and ask, are you still here? You know, do you are you temporarily in this other state? Are you coming back? That sort of thing. And if they don't respond, then they become inactive.
Inactive.
And then there's another process, which is the no contact process, where if you're inactive over 2 general elections, then you are canceled, your registration is canceled. So in all, it can take as long as 8 years for that to happen.
So it's really with volunteers like
Exactly.
this man that helps us out, finds these in. And let me make sure I get this clear. All the four of these people have already voted, and one has now registered in North Carolina to vote the next election. Am I
Yes.
right?
That's correct.
Okay. I just,
So you mentioned the inactive status. Is inactive, how does that occur?
You become inactive if we get returned mail saying that you have moved. We'll send you again confirmation notices to ask if you are still here, and if you don't respond, you become inactive.
And then how does one become, or how does one reactivate themselves?
By voting?
By voting,
You can
okay.
vote as an inactive voter. You can vote, and that will be, make you inactive. If you sign a petition, there's several ways. If you contact our office and say that you are still interested, then you can become active again.
Okay, excellent. Anything further for Ms. Evler or Mr. Williams? No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Daniel, do you have anything further for us?
Not at this time, and I'm available for questions, and we may, if you want an executive session like we did last time, you're welcome to do that, because obviously, as the purpose of an executive session is to discuss about potential litigation, and last time we had one of these, we then ended up with litigation, so
Right.
that's fine to do that if you want to have executive session, or you can have discussion and vote in open session.
I think our standard process should be that we should have executive session because we cannot foresee as to whether potential litigation will arise in connection with this. Obviously, we're one of 2. We're down up to 2 of these, and the preceding one did result in litigation. So unless there is an objection by my colleagues to us going into executive session, that's what I would like to suggest and propose. Okay, so,
You got a motion?
okay, thank
For
you. Is
for
there a second?
purposes of
For purposes of litigation.
litigation, okay.
Okay.
okay, I'll second it.
And it's been seconded. Okay. It's been moved and properly seconded to go into executive session for purposes of discussing potential litigation. All those in favor, if you'll denote as to whether you are or not. Yep, Jessica's on. Just
My vote is yes.
Okay, excellent, thank you. The motion passes. So everyone that's here with us, if we could just ask that it's the standard process, same process that we always undertake when we do move into executive session. We ask that all individuals that are here with us, if you'll please exit, and following executive session, we will resume.
Is there a possibility of asking a question of the board? How do we ensure that these people are the same people? That is, one registered here and one registered in North Carolina? And no-
I couldn't hear.
Hold on, I'll repeat the question. I'm sorry, sir. So your question is, and jump in here if I'm misstating it. Your question is as to how are we confirming, or how are we certain that the individual whose name was submitted, or they submitted, that their names have been provided to us as someone that submitted a change of address form for the state of Georgia. That's the basis for then someone looking at them in the state of North Carolina. How can we confirm that?
That they are the actual same person, and not just 2 people with the same name and date of birth. Although I understand it's unlikely, it is still possible. We ran into the same problem in 2000 in Florida and Texas. They were taking voters with the same name and striking them from the voting list without verifying that they were the actual same people.
Well, in 2 instances, as Ms. Evler made mention of, the individuals have contacted us and suggested to us that, yes, that was, well, I wasn't a part of that conversation. I'm not going to say what they said.
Yes, they were definitely identifying themselves as the same voters. And we compared the birth dates and the previous address that was provided by Mr. Williams, and it was the same information.
Great.
Okay, so we will contact the other three. Is that correct?
Can I, just, let me,
My understanding is
can I, Tori?
we haven't
Let me
moved
time out.
to an executive session
So
yet.
there was a vote that moved this to executive session. If the board wants to, could take more questions after executive session, we can, but right now it's sort of inappropriate to have moved into executive session and then continue public discussion. So if people want to come back after executive session, they're welcome to, and the board wants to entertain, they can.
Okay, so pardon me, that's on me. I would tend to think, though, that the questions that they raise would be, and so that's my error, and I'll take full responsibility for that. Is there a manner in which we can vote to suspend executive session? Because what I don't want to take place is questions like the question that was raised by the gentleman very well may reveal information that we should take into consideration during executive session. So that's on me for entertaining the question, notwithstanding the fact that we had voted to move into executive session.
Right, and for sure, like, that's what I was gonna say. You can suspend it, and honestly, until everybody's out of the room and the doors are closed.
And that's
like,
how I was
it's
moving
really-
forward.
I just want to make it clear on the record, because
Okay.
what I don't want is to have a record that says we moved to go into executive session, then there's some discussion afterwards, and then everybody says, well, then you waived everything in executive session.
No,
being
we won't do
correct.
that.
So, right, so
Okay.
if you want to suspend executive session to let other individuals address the board, that's at the discretion of the board.
Okay. And I presume, well, let me not make presumptions. Is anyone in objection to, are any board members in objection to suspending executive session? The gentleman raises a valid question. Probably should be part of our standard process is to allow for some public comment, obviously on this limited topic, prior to going into executive session.
Okay, so do we have to make?
I don't know that we cannot.
Does this require a motion to go into suspend?
Suspend.
Yeah, that's what I just.
Does this require a motion to suspend?
Well,
We
Since-
never
since
went
we-
in, and that's the point.
well, so once you vote to go in, you're in executive session.
Okay.
And we're clearing it out. So you probably, in order to have a non-executive session discussion, to be safe, you want to have a vote to come out.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to come out.
Pat just moved to come out of executive session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay. Have a seat, everyone. I'm sorry, sir, your name, please?
My name
Let
is
him
Dr.
come up.
Salih, S-A-L-I-H.
Okay.
We're supposed to vote on that.
It's really up to the, so let me go into, this is pertinent for everybody to know too. If
Right.
these are going to become more common, we've had a discussion, board members have asked, can we come up with procedures? That is going to be discussed at a future meeting, probably. If
At the
board-
next meeting.
If the board asks to have those, put together. So in the meantime, it's really up to the chair as to whether the chair wants to entertain, other, you don't have to have a motion to hear from other voters. It's just up to the board. Typically, you would want to, if you want to do that, you want to have it spelled out, who gets to speak and how long.
And
what
the
vote-
timeframe.
But because we have not, but it's clear this is going to become more common, so we need to have some timeframe. But now it's your meeting, you're the board, and you can sort of set the agenda for who can speak and who can be heard.
Okay,
But it's
certainly.
coming out of executive session of vote.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. She was saying,
So-
should you vote on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead,
Yes.
we'll proceed to vote.
I understand.
Understood. Jessica, if you'll give us a voice vote on coming out of executive session, please?
Aye, yes.
Okay. Mr. Bruning, can we have your vote?
Oh, push the button
Okay.
once.
We're out of executive session. And I'm sorry, sir, your name again, please?
Ahmad Salih, Dr. Salih.
Yeah, please come to the mic if you don't mind. Okay.
I am Dr. Ahmad Salih. I'm a resident of Cobb County and a registered voter.
Okay, excellent. So have we answered your question?
No, only
Okay.
about the two. That
Right.
there were two people that contacted Ms. Eveler's office, and so you were able to confirm, they admitted that they moved from Cobb County to wherever it was in North Carolina, et cetera. So my question was, what about the other three? Do we have a method of contacting them, verifying that they are the same people and not just somebody with the same name?
So the process is outlined in the Georgia Code, does require that we reach out to them, and Ms. Eveler will describe how we've reached out to them, but we're required by law
Okay. All
to
right.
reach out to them.
You've
Yes,
answered
so-
my question. Thank you.
Okay, so yes, all of them were sent a hearing letter with notice of this hearing to both their Georgia address and their North Carolina address. And in our research, we are making sure that the record that we have in the Georgia system has the same name and middle names and birth dates and previous address here in Georgia.
Social Security.
The record that Mr. Williams published did not have a social security number, so there was not that to match.
Thank you, Dr. Salid. So to the extent that we've entertained a question from Dr. Salid, I think it only appropriate for a limited amount of time, and again, as Daniel made mention of, we will publish procedures. We'll review those. As he indicated, it's likely that we'll be here in the future taking up these types of challenges. And as he noted, that this is a relatively new process. This is the second challenge. And again, as we anticipate that there will be additional challenges, we've already had conversations about pulling some procedures together so that we are all on the same page as to how these queries and challenges will be managed. That being the case, while not a judge, I believe that I'm a very equitable and fair person. So if anyone else has a comment and/or question that you would like to raise, I encourage you to do so. Please note, however, that that will be time limited, no different than we place time limits on public comment during our standard monthly meetings. So at this time, does anyone have any further comments and/or questions before we go back into executive session? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to truly go into executive session?
I will remake my motion.
I will remake the motion to go into executive session for the purpose of litigation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and properly seconded. If you'll vote to move into executive session for purposes of discussion litigation. And Jessica, if you'll note your vote
The vote is yes.
verbally. Yes, thank you.
Button's not.
Steve seconded it. Pat voted no.
Steve did.
Yeah, that's what I said. Steve seconded it.
Okay, Pat voted no.
Pat voted no, not to go into executive session.
So, just so you know.
Yes, sir.
The only way for Jessica to be able to hear you, you have to use your minds.
Okay.
Unless you want another option, which is
We'll entertain a motion to come out of executive session. Thank you, Pat. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. It's been moved and properly seconded to come out of executive session. If you'll please vote. Jessica, if you'll give us a voice vote.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Yes, now it passed unanimously. I thought you voted. You did.
Whatever the heck.
But your official vote is yes to come out of executive session. Okay. Okay. I think at this time, we are ready to vote on each of these registered voters. We'll take them up individually. I will entertain a motion with respect to Ms. Stacy Ann Weidman. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Yes, sir.
To remove this name from the roll.
The motion is to remove Ms. Weidman from the voter-elector roll. Is there a second?
Second.
Jessica has seconded. All those in favor of removing Ms. Weidman from the roll?
My vote is yes.
Thank you. Ms. Mossbacher, we'll note that Ms. Mossbacher voted no. Okay. Is there a motion with respect to Ms. Charlotte Ann Blaylock?
I'll make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to remove it.
Okay, the motion is to remove Ms. Blaylock from the roll. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and properly seconded to remove Ms. Blaylock from the roll. All those in favor?
I'd just like
I'm
to
sorry, go ahead.
make one comment.
Yes.
She has voted in North Carolina.
Right.
I think that's, at least to me, it's important
Yeah,
that
both.
we note that how a person, whether a person has voted in their new location, and she has, so.
Okay. Okay. We'll entertain votes at this point.
My vote is yes.
Okay. All votes are yes in favor of removing Ms. Blaylock from the roll.
Is that
The
a
next,
unanimous, or?
yes, it's unanimous.
Oh.
Yes, all votes. Fine, I should
Gotcha.
use the word unanimous. Ms. Marina Van Houten, I'm assuming Hale, is there a motion with respect to Ms. Hale?
I'll second it.
I move that we remove Ms. Hale from the voter roll.
And
Is-
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to remove Ms. Hale from the voter roll. Mr. Bruning, I presume you want to make a
I
statement?
just wanted to note that she's voted in at least 5 different elections in North Carolina
Okay.
since 2019, I believe, so she's in North Carolina.
Go ahead and register your votes to whether you're in agreement with removing Ms. Hale from the voter roll.
My vote is yes.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. It's unanimous to remove Ms. Hale from the voter roll. Moving on to Mr. Wilmer Newton Long, is there a motion?
I move that we remove Mr. Long from the voter roll.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and properly seconded to remove Mr. Long from the voter roll.
And
Mr. Bruning?
I would just like to note that he has voted absentee in 2020. It's not this year, but 2 years ago, so.
Okay. Go ahead and register your votes to whether you're in agreement with the motion.
My vote is yes.
Okay. That unanimously passes. Next up is Miss Debbie Howard Naylor. Is there a motion with respect to Miss Naylor?
I move that we allow Ms. Naylor to remain on the roll until she responds to the correspondence or contacts us or votes. And so far, she has not voted in North Carolina.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to allow Ms. Naylor to remain on the voter roll. If you're in favor, please vote as to whether you're in favor or not. Okay. Your vote, Jessica?
My vote is yes.
Okay. Just for our record purposes, 4 votes in favor of allowing Ms. Naylor to remain on the roll, 1 vote in favor, or against that, obviously, to remove Ms. Naylor from the roll. Is there anything further from the board, from Ms. Evler, from Daniel, Mr. White? Nope, okay. With that, we will call this special meeting adjourned as of 4:17 PM. Thank you for dialing in, Jessica.
Thank you.
You're welcome, bye-bye.
Okay. Y'all have a good one.